been almost 10 months since our schools have been closed and our communities shuttered due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With all this time at home teaching, leading, learning on Zoom, and having birthdays and holidays on a webcam, we've had an awful long time to think about the state of our public education system. Do you want to hear how to make our schools, our children, and communities more resilient and stronger? Well, then you should keep listening. Our public schools as institutions are hurting, and it did not just happen in March of 2020. This podcast series is all about the story of how the pandemic has affected our schools, teachers, policies, communities, and most importantly, our students. You're going to hear about how the pandemic exposed the ever-widening gaps between students of color and their white and Asian counterparts across the country, and how it's still happening today. You're going to hear about how we've ended up with a populace that distrusts institutions like their local public schools now more than ever before. This is Pandemic Pass. Pandemic Pass is a story of hope and promise, a story of how our public schools can come out stronger than when we entered the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Casey Siddons, and as your host, I talk to folks who are impacted or who have an impact on public schools. Parents, teachers, students, education policymakers, and politicians, all of whom will play a role in leading us out of this crisis and rebuilding our public schools. Here's what Pandemic Pass is not. It's not a show about blame. It's about conversations, solutions, and ideas on how to rebuild our public schools and their institutions. It's a show about silver linings and optimism. This is a show about what we need to do moving forward to have a positive impact on our children and their future. We may be in for some dire times in our public schools, but there is a way forward if we work together and listen to each other. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts, and you won't miss a minute of Pandemic Pass.